If this video seems choppy to you, like the frames skip ahead sometimes, don't worry about it. It's not you. It's actually in the video. Why? Well, because I tend to say a lot when I'm recording. Uh, uh, you know, especially when I'm thinking really hard. So there's that. Okay, let's quickly start this video. Hey, this is Andre back with another video. It's a follow-up video actually of a previous one I made that was focused on live streaming through RTMP using the Nginx engine. And in the comments somebody asked how can we use this setup to live stream to a web page. And I was actually curious also myself how to do this. And I had it planned to actually do this myself also. So I did a little investigating, and through some trial and error, of course, I managed to set it up. And it's actually pretty easy. Yeah, you just gotta know how. And I'm hoping that this video will help you guys with this. So let's start. I already set it up. So I'm going to show you my configuration file as it is now. And do some explaining of what the things actually mean in the config files. And then I'll put the files up to Pastebin so everybody can use them to copy paste the lines that are required for them to set this up. So we're going to assume that you already have set up the RTMP live streaming server using Nginx, and that you're able to use OBS or whatever other program to live stream to it, and that it actually plays the live stream when you play it in, for example, VLC or Pod Player. To set up live streaming on a website is a little bit difficult with the RTMP protocol using nothing else. We're going to use HLS. You can look it up on Wikipedia what it is. And this can be achieved by setting one setting in the configuration file of Nginx, and that means HLS is on. And then we need to specify where to save the files, because what HLS does is it splits the live streams, it records them actually into little bits of files, and all in one directory, and also an index file, or you know, the file that you actually use to play with. You can look at it as a sort of playlist files, and in this file is configured what file, you know, in time, whatever, you know. I'll show you later. It's a little bit hard to explain now, and it's not really interesting either. So to set up HLS, yeah, I'm just going to show you guys the configuration files that I use. There's only three actually. First one that we're going to use actually to show the video on the web page. That's the stream.html file. I just placed it in the root, and that looks a little bit like this. As you can see, there's not a whole lot to it. I used video.js. It's on GitHub, and it's pretty easy to set up. You can download the package, or you can actually install it yourself, or just use the publicly available files they offer. You just look at their page and read through the help file, and then it's easy to set up. I can't even remember how I did it actually. Well, I would have told you otherwise, but it's really easy. So that gave me this file. Mind you that you need to have this folder in your root, so this folder. And as you can see, this is the content of the video EGS files, or video player, and it's nothing special. It's just a couple of script files that we actually call in our HTML file here, because as you can see it starts here. That's, by the way, the port I'm running on for my regular HTTP traffic, so it's usually port 80, I use 8088. And the rest speaks for itself, I guess. Here it opens the video player, skin, preload auto. I haven't even looked up what that means, exactly what it does. You can set the resolution here, the source, and in the source, this is very important. Here you see /live/stream, and that's actually the same as we use for the RTMP streaming. So I stream to my streaming server to /live/stream, and if you would open that URL in a player, it would start playing. But well, this doesn't work for a web page, so it opens here the index.m3u8 file, and that is actually, I'll show you, it's located I think I placed it here. HLS live stream. See, this is what HLS does. It records all these TS files, and in the index file it shows them. It shows what file to play and then what order and such things. You can actually set up in the configuration file how long these fragments should take, or how long the total playlist can take. I think I use like 1 minute of playlist and 60 seconds. No, wait. 10 seconds per fragment and 60 seconds of playlist. So yeah, you can understand that this directory is constantly being written and read from. So it's not ideal to use this on a SD drive, but also SSD, because if you write a lot of things to the SSD drive, it will deteriorate much faster. And I already experienced it once. I was using this on a Raspberry Pi, and I was writing the files constantly to an SD card, and that held up for like a week or something, and then the whole thing crashed because the operating system couldn't be read anymore because the SD drive kind of broke. So be aware of this. Okay, now we can also use Dash. It's a little bit similar like HLS, but different in a way. And from what I think I've found on the internet mostly is that Dash is no longer really used that much anymore. Not sure why. But anyways, I haven't really looked into it anyways further to set it up properly, but I did enable it in the configuration file, so it should be easy to set up. So these two directories, and this one also, Dash, HLS and recordings, I've made manually and given everybody read and write, so everybody can write to that folder just in case, but should be enough to make this user and this group the owner, because that's actually the user and group that will be writing to this directory. Recordings, well, name speaks for itself. You can save your recordings there automatically or manually. It's up to you. It's easy if you want to allow people to look at your VODs like previous live streams that you did. But yeah, then you need to also set up a page for that, and also it's one of the possibilities. So it might be something to think about. I might actually do something with that later on. Okay, so we've seen the HTML file. It's nothing all too interesting, as long as you set up video.js. So let's go to the Nginx configuration. That's these two. Nginx is in this folder, of course, in the root folder of the program, and default is of course the ones that downloaded from this directory, so it's available, I believe. So let's have a look at these. Okay, there may be little excessive things in here that you don't need to make it actually work, but this is my configuration as it is. So if it's important to our goal, then I'll mention it, and else you can just ignore it. Because I've done a little investigating on how to properly set up a web server, and I added some things that I think are good for me, but who knows, they might not be good for you. So, well, this is all by default, I believe, pretty much. Here we start with the RTMP block. I've called my application live. If you're new to this, then I advise you to watch my previous video first, because you might have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. Let's see, this is all not very interesting. Allow publish, well, that's for security reasons, but as you can see, my last line says allow publish all, so these all don't really matter. But if I would do this, then I can only use my live stream server from these addresses. So, but for testing purposes, I don't have that enabled yet. I would like everybody to play the streams, of course. So this is the recording block. I haven't really found out how to do that manually yet. I believe it's also possible by entering a URL in your browser. I just use this record on or off. If I put it on, everything will be recorded in that directory I showed you earlier, and if you turn it off, well, you can imagine what happens. Yeah, I disabled my pushing the stream forward to Twitch, YouTube and Mixer for the moment, just for testing purposes. Also, publish notify is also something interesting if you want to have the RTMP streaming server interact with web pages, like for example notifications when you go live can be used here. But that would also mean that you need to know how to set up a whole system like that on a web page. I haven't looked into that yet, might later on. So here's the important part for us right now. HLS, I turned it on. HLS nested also on. HLS path, well, I showed you this earlier. This is the one I gave WW data all the read and write rights to. I'm not sure what this is, so disable it. Don't enable it unless you know what you're doing. Here you see the playlist length, so that's 60 seconds, and the fragment is 10 seconds. HLS sync has something to do with the audio, I believe. HLS cleanup means when you stop the live stream server, all those files in the HLS folder won't stick around or gather all together and pile up eventually to flood your disk, so it'll clean it up afterwards. Dash, well, as you see, I turned it off now because I'm not using it, but I've used this for a while just to see if it was of any use, and actually it was, but I did notice that my CPU, because the server that I'm using now isn't really a big deal, really. On the contrary, so I noticed that my CPU was hitting 70% all the time, and I didn't like it, so that's why I turned it off. But when I set this up on a proper server, then I will enable it again, because what this does is it takes your stream that you're streaming to your server and creates a second stream for it, but more suitable for people who are using a mobile, for example. And not only the resolution, but also the bandwidth can be set up properly and automatically. Actually, it knows how to check, how to use a check to see what the bandwidth is for a certain user, and then send the appropriate stream to them. So if they notice that they're, for example, on a mobile on a slow connection, will send a much lower bandwidth stream than the full unchanged stream. So that's still something I want to look into, because that's of course interesting. Else you will run into the problem that everybody at home on their computer can see your stream fine, but if somebody's on the road and on their phone, they won't be able to load the stream because they want to download too much data in comparison to the bandwidth. So, but again, I turned that off for now. It's not of interest to what I'm doing right now, which is show you how to actually get it to work in a web page, and all the other things there's for another time. Live out, I was testing with this. As you can see, I've disabled it all. Then we go to application, HLS. So first we had the HLS settings under the application live block, so to say. Now we have an application HLS. There's nothing really special in here, as you can see. I think it speaks for itself. I already explained this earlier. Here I made one application called Low, and that was the one I actually used to stream out the smaller resolution video files for mobiles and such. But this will only apply, this block will only be used actually if I would enable this. So remove this dash, but okay. This one's pretty fun actually, the application IPCam. I have a camera in my house and it's connected through Wi-Fi. It's an IP camera basically that uses RTSP. It's almost the same as RTMP, different port though, and I believe it's more recent. You see more and more of it coming, but that's not the point. I can use the RTSP protocol to pull a stream directly from the camera, either in MGPEG or H.264. Now I want to use H.264 because that's 1280-720, and when I use the MGPEG it's much lower and won't go higher, not even in the settings of the camera. So, but I won't be pulling that stream at all the time to the server, only when somebody opens the URL to it in its browser, or when somebody starts pulling the stream through, for example, VLC. Then the server notices, hey, somebody wants to watch this, I know where to pull that from, and then it starts pulling the stream from this IP camera, and unfortunately over Wi-Fi, but doesn't matter. It's not very high bandwidth camera anyway, so But yeah, you can also see it in the stats page if you set that up like in our previous video. You can see in the stats page that you get 2 new streams when somebody requests to see the stream. One incoming, of course, because it's pulling that one from the IP cam, and the one that is sending it to the person who wants to watch it. But that's actually pretty cool, I found out. It works great. A little bit slow to start up though, but that's understandable. I haven't really looked into this anymore. Application Vault. It should be able to play everything in the recordings map. Not sure how to trigger this though. Forgot actually to look into that further. Also the same for HTTP. And mirroring is also possible, but that's something I gotta look into first. I think we've handled the most important things. Now what I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna remove all the unused parts, and what I end up with, I'll put that on paste bin. Oh yeah, by the way, one very important thing, if you want the stats page that we set up in the previous video to work properly, you have to set worker processes to 1. If you set that to, if you leave that to the default option, your stats page will be working fine when you just start streaming for the first time, but eventually you won't be able to see anything on the stats page anymore. And from what I've read, is that if it's using more processes, it gets taken over by a different process, and the process that's doing your stats page or something is still left at a older. I'm not sure if I explained it correctly, but anyways, if you change the settings to this, no problems anymore. So you gotta leave that in. Alright, this is all fine. This is all default, I believe, so I'll leave that in. This is all default. Application live. Yeah, I'll leave that to default. I'll remove this, of course. Maximum connections. That's for you to choose. Drop idle publisher. Yeah, I've disabled it, but you can test or experiment with it what you wish. Keep in mind that if you want to set this up using my example, that you use the same folder names, or else the configuration file won't work. Or change the settings in the configuration file, of course, that's up to you. Recorder, yeah, might as well remove all this. Maybe it's interesting to put the setting, change it to on for you for the first time, just to test if it works, you know. I might also actually. Forward stream, I'll leave this. Maybe it's handy for you if you want to push your live stream towards other platforms. That's actually the reason I started building this setup. That was the main goal for me, but at the moment I'm not using it because I'm trying to show you guys something else. This notification, yeah, I'll leave it in, maybe you want to mess around with it. So HLS is on. I'll put dash to on also, just to see if it works, you know. These lines are just there for me to test, so I'll remove them. Not sure. Oh yeah, I remember why I placed this URL here. It was for me to look at a later time. This is what I was talking about, that the adaptive bitrate, so the system will know what bandwidth the user is on. Yeah, so maybe you can follow this example. I haven't tried it, well I did actually, I tried it once, but I'm not even sure if it was working then. Anyways, oh yeah, I had some other problems then, so I tried to tackle those, and in doing so I decided to stop testing with this for that time. Yeah, here you can see the HLS variant, or whatever how you pronounce that, with different bandwidths, and I believe this is also something to do with the resolution. Let's see, so he has a application live, like I do, live on, execute FFmpeg, listens to the incoming stream on whatever name, and copies it to an H120HK with a resolution of 640 by 360. Then I'm not sure what this is, but oh yeah, I believe he uses this font file that's in by default in every Ubuntu or Debian operating system. I believe it uses that to check the bandwidth from the user, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. I define the available video based on the bandwidth. By using VFDraw text command, I add a text with red color that indicates the current resolution to the stream on my video player. Oh no, it's just to... never mind, forget what I said earlier. It's just to show on the stream, but... okay, forget it. He also copies that same stream to... so yeah, basically same thing, only a higher resolution, a little bit higher bandwidth. Bitrate, I mean. Last one, 12. This is HD. Okay, well that's pretty cool actually. Oh yeah, you see, this is live out. That's what what you maybe saw in my configuration file, this part. Yeah, as you can see, I left it there because I want to continue testing with it, but at that time I decided to disable it all. But that's I think I got that from here. Yeah, got that from this this site. So this website, actually, I'll put a link in the description below, shows more interesting articles. Some have been really useful to me. What he does actually is just explain how to set up a RTP server also from the startup. But besides that, also Video.js player for HLS streaming. I think I got the idea from here also. HLS streaming over HTTPS. I also set that up by now, and I think I also got that from this guy. Yeah, it has a couple of more really interesting articles. You should look at them and just read them through. It's really interesting, and you might get some ideas for yourself. Yeah. I do believe that this is no longer really working, his Video HGS setup, but he does link to the GitHub and other things, so I use those to set it up properly. Not sure though, look at it yourself. I was trying to keep my focus on this, really. It's difficult for me sometimes. I'll leave that in for you. Maybe you want to check with that yourself also. I'll just leave everything in except this. This is of no interest to you because you don't have my camera. Oh, okay. So I'll put that one on paste bin. Now we still have to look at the default configuration file for Nginx, so for the default server. I set up SSL already. It's really easy to do, to set up certificates using certbot or Let's Encrypt. I won't go into detail right now, maybe some other time, but if you Google that, setting up Nginx with certificates, you'll find thousands of guides, so you can do that yourself. These are the default directories. Let's put the certificates in, but anyways, I'm gonna, for you, disable them, because if you don't have those certificates, this is not gonna work. As you can see, I'm running on port 8088, and my SSL port is 4438. Right, SSL disabled. I did also add PHP -fpm for Nginx, so not really using it for anything right now, but it's always handy to have PHP available. So I added index.php here, but for you, if you don't have PHP, then remove that. This is all default. I'll remove this one also then. Yep. Alright. Yeah, you can. This is by default in the configuration file. I always enable it, but by default it's disabled. This has something to do with caching of these certain files, or not caching. This should be familiar to you if you saw the previous video. It's the stat block in configuration. As you can see, I added the requirement to enter a username and password if you want to see the stat page. All this should be known to you. Yeah. This is not really interesting. It's for statistics. So you don't need that. That's for a different purpose. Yep. Alright, here we go. This is where it starts to get important. RTMP. Right. Should be clear for you to find it now. So if you open this configuration file, scroll down until you see the RTMP part. Right, so this is the folder we saw earlier. It's actually an alias. This is an alias that refers to this folder. So /live that means. So if somebody enters in this browser your server address /live, they will actually get a result. Also, you have to disable caching if you want HLS to work properly, and that's done by these configuration strings. Just copy them. You don't need them all, but I managed to do it yeah, completely right. Added all the things I could find that will disable caching. This is also important, the types of file that will contain. Same thing basically for HLS. The alias, no, oh wait, that's actually a, it's not an alias. As you can see, this root goes to var/www, and in that folder there's this HLS folder, as you can see. So if you use root here, not alias, then you need to keep in mind that the part that actually comes after www is actually also the same as you already put there. It automatically kind of adds that. Not sure if I'm making any sense right now, but you get the idea. Also disable caching, same thing. Add the types, very important. For dash also same thing. Oh, this is again is an alias. That's weird. Huh. Well, anyways, it works. So also add this. Yeah, the MP4 part. MP4, sorry, part. I'm not sure why I added that. If it was required, can't remember. But anyways, just copy it, and it's working. Hello. Well, I'm not really using that at the moment, but also same thing. Recordings, same thing. So these are all the locations where we're going to read the HLS files or dash or recording files from. Hope it makes sense to you. To me it's pretty obvious by now, but I did of course investigate and invested some time in learning what it all does, so hope I'm explaining everything that you need. I'm going to save that. I'll put that on paste bin. That's basically it. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm forgetting anything. Yeah, maybe you could start with the first thing you should do is setting up Video.js from their GitHub site, somewhere in your root web folder, and just try start testing with it. Oh yeah, there is one thing actually that I'm forgetting. I forgot to mention something in my video, and I decided to record it afterwards. And that's this part actually you're looking at right now, but I might place it, edit it in the video somewhere earlier, so it might not make sense that we have a transition right now. But there it is. The thing I forgot to show you guys is that it actually works on a web page. So let's see. I have these two files who are actually exactly the same, only the one that's called stream uses the default HTTP protocol on this port, and the secure one uses HTTPS, and that's on a different port, also a different one than usual. So if I open the page over SSL, so on a HTTPS site, then these references also have to be to HTTPS. If you reference to HTTP, then it's not going to work. The other way around also, I think. So I'm already streaming with OBS to my live stream server, so that's online, that's working. And let's refresh. As you can see, it's opening secure stream. I do still have to push play. which is odd because I think I did enable autoplay. Yeah, that's weird. Control autoplay is true, okay. It might actually be then a Opera thing. Let's try Firefox. Yeah, autoplay works, as you can see. This is my live stream, actual live stream. Not a really interesting one, it's just to show you that it works. Okay, to do this, I added a little string to this file, and it's called autoplay is true. Just add it before it preloads, and it should be fine. So that was a little part I forgot, and now let's go back to what I recorded earlier. If you serve the page over HTTPS, so using a certificate and all that, then you will also need to serve, well, I'll show you while I'm explaining this. A person opens the web page through HTTPS, then these files, of these references or these URLs also need to be HTTPS, because that's not going to work. So either you use HTTPS for both, so in this file where to pull the stream from, but also the file itself that's being requested by the browser when you open it. So that's something to keep in mind, because I didn't pay attention to it, and I thought I'm going to use the HTTPS to serve the stream file, stream.html, and then in that file I'm just going to reference to the HTTP locations. That's not going to work, because yeah, it doesn't allow it. Not sure if it works the other way around. Might actually, not sure. But that's something to keep in mind. That's basically it. So, well, if you have any more questions or ideas, or maybe you got something working on that you want to share, please share, because I like to always learn new things and investigate the things I haven't investigated yet. Just for fun. Well, thanks for watching, and maybe I'll see you next time. Maybe I'll do another video like this. Maybe something completely different. We'll see. Anyways, please remember to give me a thumb up, and thanks again. Bye bye.